Congressman Mike Waltz is a Republican from Florida. He joins us now. I just want to play for you a little bit more from this interview that the teen gave to the Washington Post about the leaker. Listen here.
There's talks of foreign intelligence agencies, who's supplying what in what wars, who's funding certain things. There's talks of nuclear weaponry. I mean, that's hardly touching the iceberg. There's just stuff that if your tax dollars are funding these atrocities, then you should be able to know about it.
Congressman, your reaction this morning to the leaker, not, as far as we know, not in custody yet, but perhaps known now.
Yeah, Dana, I find this far more serious and more significant than what we're hearing from the White House. And what jumped out at me is just that we have this massive security infrastructure within the Defense Department, our intelligence and our intelligence community, secure compartmented facilities by the thousands, secure IT systems, security background checks that take months, if not years, and all of this costs billions and billions of dollars. Yet this seems to have been done so simply, and it really drives me as a member of the intelligence community or intelligence committee from an oversight standpoint to look at that infrastructure, how much money we're spending on it, how effective is it really, and then also all of the insider threat programs that supposedly were put in place since the Snowden leaks. At the end of the day, we've built these massive forts kind of around our classified intelligence, as we should, yet it's the insiders that seem to be the biggest threats. And that's what I want to dig into when we get back to Washington and start conducting oversight.
Yeah, we mentioned this last hour. Upwards of 3 million Americans have access to classified information. I would put that number at 300, not 3 million, but it is what it is as of 2019. I think if you read through the Washington Post article, a lot of that information in there, frankly, stuns me. Dana, I think probably you would agree with that. But Jack Keane just sat here and said this is not the top intelligence that we have. And he suggested that we're overplaying the amount of information that is now out in the public domain. Would you agree with that, sir?
Well, I think General Keane was making a distinction between what's embarrassing, and it is very embarrassing. I was just out in South Korea. I mean, the South Korean president ran on a pro-American platform, and yet for it to now be out in the public domain that we have collection, according to these reports, on our allies isn't helpful. It's incredibly difficult to engage in these alliances when we have that kind of stuff out there. But I think General Keane was making the distinction between what's embarrassing and then our actual sources and methods, and whether it's naming human sources or naming collection programs. I haven't received the full briefing yet. I haven't seen how much of that latter, but I think it was actually exposed. But I think that's what he's speaking to. But either way, I want to look at our protocols of how the stuff got out and then how much money we're spending or wasting to try to hide it.
Congressman, just one other topic here. This week, the White House said that it will introduce sanctions to combat the dealing of fentanyl. They put out this statement basically saying they're going to go after the accountability measures, including financial sanctions, on key targets to obstruct drug traffickers' access to the U.S. financial system and illicit financial flows. Do you have confidence that that will help combat the amount of fentanyl that's coming into the U.S.?
Well, first, we do need to focus on the cartels, number one. But number two, I don't know if these cartels are on the international monetary system or using SWIFT or have Bank of America accounts that could really be affected here. They're moving bulk cash. They're using crypto. At the end of the day, I still maintain that we need to tap into military resources to support law enforcement. I've submitted legislation for the authorization of the use of military force, not an invasion, but space systems, targeting, intelligence, offensive cyber. We've got to put these cartels on their back foot, start disrupting them, start dismantling them, put them on the defensive, and I think that's how we're going to get at this problem.
Sir, thank you for your time.
I fear, Dana, that this sanctions, these sanctions are frankly a check the box.
I agree.
From the White House to say they're doing something, but the things I just listed will actually have effect. They did it in Colombia. We can do it again.
Thank you, sir, for your time.
Great to see you,
Michael
Congressman
Waltz, thank you. Back. I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.